Have you ever bought something and thought, wow, that was really a nice bargain? In economics, the good feeling has actually a name. So this good feeling is associated with the so-called consumer surplus. And in this video, I will explain what the consumer surplus is, why economists care about it, and how we can understand it using very simple explanations and graphs. Let's start with the basic idea. Consumer surplus is a way to measure consumer welfare. It captures the benefits that a consumer gets when he or she buys a good for less than the maximum price that they are willing to pay. So if you pay less than you are willing to pay, then you make a surplus. And this surplus is the consumer surplus. Or in very simple terms, the consumer surplus equals the willingness to pay minus the actual price that is paid. To get an intuitive idea about it, let's consider a certain example. Consider you are hiking somewhere and you are really thirsty. You would be willing to pay, say, €4 for a bottle of juice or whatever, and a second euro for a second bottle. So you're very thirsty. The first bottle would be worth a lot. The second bottle would still be worth a lot, but less than the first bottle. Now let's look at three different situations. First, you come by a very expensive restaurant, say, fancy restaurant where a bottle of juice costs €5. Since this is more that you are willing to pay for, you don't buy any juice at all. And obviously, this also means that there is no consumer surplus. So there was no consumption, there is no consumer surplus, the consumer surplus is zero. Now imagine you're walking further, you find another restaurant where a bottle costs €4, so it's less expensive. Now this is exactly the amount that you're willing to pay for the first bottle. So perhaps you buy it, but if you buy it, it's important to note that you paid exactly the maximum price that you are willing to pay. So in this case, there is also no consumer surplus. The consumer surplus is zero. You are not worse off, but you are also not gaining any extra benefit by buying this bottle of water or juice. Now you still walk a bit further and then you see a cheap vending machine. You have that the juice there costs €1, and that means that you can now buy two bottles, and in case of both bottles you would have a positive consumer surplus. For the first bottle you are willing to pay €4, the price is €1, so your consumer surplus is €4 minus €1, and that's €3 for this first purchase. But also for a second bottle you would have a positive consumer surplus because you would be willing to pay €2 minus the cost of one is still €1. So also for the second bottle that you buy, you make a consumer surplus of €1. And now the total consumer surplus is if you add them up. So then you would have had a consumer surplus of €4 for the two bottles of water or juice that you bought. Now let's think about this again from a graphical perspective. So we have here the demand along the horizontal axis of a certain good, and on the vertical axis we have its price. And the demand function is downward sloping. So for a very high price you demand little of the good, and for a low price you demand more. So the demand curve represents the consumer's willingness to pay. For each unit it tells the maximum price that the consumer would be willing to accept. Now let's start with a rather high price, P1 here. So in this case, almost nobody would be willing to pay this good. Perhaps only one unit of it where a consumer is indifferent between buying it or not. So in this case, the consumer surplus would be zero, because even if there is one good bought, then the maximum willingness to pay is exactly equal to the maximum cost, and we've seen before that the consumer surplus in this case is zero. Now let's assume that the price decreases for some reason to P2. Now in this case we see that along the demand curve there are many points that are above this price P2. So if this is a single consumer, then this person would have a consumer surplus here. It would buy the good up to the number of units where the two curves intersect. Or you can also think about it as a market curve. You would have those consumers here who have the highest willingness to pay and those who have the lowest willingness to pay here. So the consumers would then buy up to the point where the last consumer that still buys the good has exactly faces a price that is exactly equal to its willingness to pay. Now, if the consumers pay this good, then we can show graphically the total consumer surplus. The consumer surplus is the area below the demand curve and above the price curve, because here you have all the goods that are bought multiplied with the difference between the willingness to pay and the actual price. So that's summing up all the consumer surpluses for all the number of goods that have been sold. Now assume that the price decreases further to B3. Now we see the triangle below the demand curve and above the price line becomes larger. So it's now this larger triangle here, the CSP3, and this is greater than the triangle that we had before. So the consumer surplus increased in this case. We have a greater consumer surplus now. So why does this matter? The consumer surplus is a very important concept in microeconomics. It allows us to measure a part of the welfare that comes from changing prices. The other part, as we will see in later chapters, is the producer surplus. It's not only the consumers that have a surplus, but also the producers that have a surplus, and welfare can be calculated as the sum of the consumer and the producer surplus. What we can do with this concept of the consumer surplus is to analyze a wide variety of different changes. For example, you have price changes. How do they affect consumer welfare? You have tax increases, taxation policy or whatever. So the tax on a good is increased or decreased. How does this affect consumer welfare? And so on and so forth. So you can analyze tax policies, subsidies, price controls, and so on, and their effects on the well-being of consumers. Now this gives us a simple but powerful way to understand how the price effects affect people's well-being.